Hello friends, welcome back to Aunt Debbie's Boutique. Today we're starting our series on Christmas decor, and if you saw my post earlier, I had posted a picture of all the different fabrics that we were going to be using, and I just absolutely love them. I bought them just recently from Jordan Fabrics, and mainly because I love metallic fabrics at Christmas time, and they had some gold metallics, but I've used a lot of gold in the past, and they had these silver metallics, and so I wanted to try them. So if you like the fabrics that I'm using, you can go to their website and order too. They have a huge selection of Christmas fabrics. That's their own line. So today we're going to make placemats and napkins. And our placemats are going to be a lot simpler than the ones we did for Halloween or Thanksgiving, but our napkins are going to be the showstopper for this set. What you're going to need is a front. This is what I'm using for my front. And a back side, and this is what I'm using for the back, and a piece of batting that are all 21 by 15. So with a half a yard, you can get 2 placemats out of that. Half a yard of each. And then, of course, your batting. Now, I actually cut my batting about a ½ inch smaller than my 2 pieces because I don't like a lot of bulk in my seams. So I'll show you that when we get to that step. Then you're going to need a front for your napkin. This is what I'm using for my front. And a back. This is what I'm using for my back. And they're each a half circle, an 8½ inch circle. So if you will cut out an 8½ inch circle, which you can get out of a 1/4 yard of fabric, and cut it in half, you'll make 2 napkins. So you'll need a 1/4 yard for each one of these. And then we need 2 pieces, and I've just got one here. I'll have to find, I must have dropped the other one. 2 pieces that are 2½ by 2 inches. And this is a pattern that I drew up for my quilting pattern. And I'll show you that when we get to that point. An optional item is this 505 temporary adhesive that we've used before, and it just holds your backing to your batting and your front to your batting while you quilt it. This is optional. I've already made 3 of these, and I didn't use it on that because it can gum your needles if you put too much on, and overspray gets everything around it sticky, but it does work very well otherwise. Okay, first of all, let's get started on our placemat. What I'm going to do is put right sides together of our 2 prints, and then I'm going to put our batting, and as you can see, I cut it just so that it's about a 1/4 inch all the way around smaller. If I can get it centered here. So when I do my 1/4 inch seam all the way around, it won't get a bunch of extra in the seam, bunch of extra bulk. I'll catch the batting occasionally, and that'll just kind of hold it in place, but we won't have two thicknesses of batting when we turn it right side out. Now we're doing this simple because I try to make sure this channel appeals to beginners and that we do things simple. But if you prefer making your placemat and doing a binding around it, you can certainly do that. But we're not going to do a binding today. We're going to stitch all the way around. We're going to leave an opening that's big enough for our hand to get in. And that's just so we can smooth the batting if it got bunched up at all, and turn our corners real good. And then we're going to turn it right side out and iron it and top stitch it. So before I start, I want to also mention we used in our last video when we were doing some quilt blocks, I told you about this 1/4 inch foot that has the little flange on the side that keeps you from sewing anything bigger than 1/4 inch. And I'm going to use that when I go around my placemat and when I do my top stitching, and that way everything will be nice and symmetrical and even and all that. That also is not a necessity, it is just an option. Now that we've got it sewn, I want to clip my corners. Let me see. Make sure you can see this. And I'm also going to clip it a little deeper here on the corners so that we don't have any bulk in there, and that'll make you a nice pretty point. So once across the tip, and then once to each side of it. And on this one, I would have some extra bulk there because I caught the batting, so I for sure want to trim as much as I can off, not all of it, of course. Now I'm going to turn this inside out. And I'm going to poke out all my corners. And if you need to pull them out anymore, a pin or I like to use a seam ripper, but they can be dangerous, so be careful if you use a seam ripper. You don't want to accidentally cut your seams. Now I'm going to iron it with my seams nice and flat here. Sometimes you kind of have to roll them back. And now I want to iron my opening closed. So I'm going to fold it in on both sides and kind of give it a tug, and most of the time that will make everything lay smooth. Okay, now I'm going to take it back to my sewing machine, and using my 1/4 inch foot, I'm going to stitch all the way around the edge. Now that I've got it all sewn, I need to quilt it. And I just took a piece of scrap fabric that I had, and I folded it and just cut out a Christmas tree that was about the size I needed. And it happened to be exactly the right size. Then I line it up, get my pins, about 1 inch from this edge, about 1 inch from that edge, and about 1 inch from this edge. And I'm going to put a little pin there and a little pin here just to make sure that that's where I want it. Then I'm going to I want these to touch my quilting pattern. So I'm measuring them to make sure I've got this centered. Okay, that's a little more than 1 inch. So I'm going to start this a little further in. And I've got approximately the same amount on each edge. Okay, I'm going to use the back side of this just because it's easier to see what I draw on. Should put these on this side. Line it back up. And now I'm going to trace my tree on here. Okay, I'm not sure if I got all the film coverage of tracing the pattern. I'll have to check, but I just traced around all these with a erasable marker. I'm using a friction pen. I know a lot of people don't like these. They say they can come back if it gets cold, the marks, but I've never had any problem with that, so I'm using it. But you want something that is erasable. This is erasable by heat. And so I will iron this when I'm done, and all the marks will go away. They're not very dark anyway. I am going to map out a pattern so I don't have to break my seam. I'm going to start here and go around this tree. And when I get back to here, I am going to do the bottom of this tree, then the bottom of this tree, then go around this and around this, and I'll end up back where I started. That way I won't have a lot of knots or back stitching on the front. I only have the one place where I started. And since this is the front, I'm stitching from the back. I really want it to look nice. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to take it over to the machine and stitch it. And I failed to mention I chose a bright white thread for this project because there's bright white in this and it's kind of a neutral color. But it almost comes across as silver in some places. It really bounces off the silver real nice. So that's what I'm using, but you can use whatever color coordinates the best. I don't want it to stick out like a sore thumb, but I do want it to show. All right, let's go stitch it. Okay, I've got all my quilting done, and I don't know how well it's going to show up. Wonder if it'd show up any better on this side. But basically we have the outline of 3 trees. But if we turn it upside down, we have the outline of 2 trees. So it's just a continuous Christmas tree quilting pattern. And it doesn't matter which direction you turn it, you're going to see Christmas trees. One way you see 3 and the other way you see 2. Now I'm going to iron both sides real good. And this side, it's mainly to get all the marks off. And this side is just to make it lace. Okay, now we have our placemat done. So let's go on to our napkin. This napkin is very, very cute, but I can't take credit for it. There are lots of videos on YouTube telling you how to make this one or something similar. They're all just a little bit different. I don't know who came up with it originally, or I'd give them credit. I know the first time I saw it was on a Donna Jordan video with Jordan Fabrics. And it's just coincidental that I'm using their fabrics for this. I'm not plugging one quilting store over another because I use several of them. I use Missouri Star Quilts. I use Fat Quarter Shop and some other ones too. So I just wherever I can find what I want for the best price is what I get. But because it's not my original pattern, I will not have a pattern for this in my Etsy store. That's just not right. It's somebody else's pattern, and like I said, if I knew whose, I'd give them credit. Okay, let's get started on sewing the tree. It's going to be a Christmas tree napkin. What we're going to do is take the 2 pieces that are 2.5 inches by 2 inches, and we're going to put them right sides together, make a 1/4 inch seam, leaving one of the longer edges open. And then we'll turn it, clip our corners, and turn it right side out. So let me stitch that for you real quick. All right, I'm going to clip my 2 corners. Turn it right side out. Sorry about the dogs. They heard a cat outside. Now that I've got it turned, I want to steam it real good. And then we're going to take, Rudy, be quiet, please. Go lay down. Then we're going to take one of the pieces, it doesn't matter which one, and we're going to measure down 2 inches and put our little tree trunk right there. I'm just going to pin it for now. Then we're going to, with right sides together, pin this all the way around. And I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way around it. You could use your 1/4 inch foot again if you wanted to. And I'm going to leave an opening about as big as my hand in the middle of the flat side. Now remember, this is an 8.5 circle, half of it. 8.5 inch radius circle. So that would be 17 in diameter. Okay, I'm going to take it out of the machine, start here and come around and stop. And I want to back stitch both places because we don't want it to come undone when we're trying to turn it and all that. Okay. Now I want to clip my corners. Once again, I'm going to clip them in 3 directions so they'll be nice and pointed when I turn it. And then I can either clip around this curve or I'm going to use my pinking shears. You can also cut, because this is kind of a gentle curve, not real tight, you could cut it about 1/8 of an inch away with just regular scissors and it would probably be okay. You just don't want a lot of bulk in there when we're trying to get it to lay smooth. Now I am not going to trim it close where the opening is. Of course, the opening's on a flat side, so it won't really matter that much anyway. Okay, if you want to see how close I trim it. Let's turn it right side out. And I'm going to kind of run my fingernail around this curve just to kind of make it pop out a little more. Okay, let's iron it. And let's see if I've got a little point here. It didn't come completely out, so I want to tug that out a little more and iron it, and we're almost done. Now I want to turn this in 5 inches. This is the side opposite of where the stem is. And then I'm going to steam it really good there. Now I want to go all the way around top stitch, and I also want to put a line right where we folded it. That's going to be a line that once it's washed, you can always go back to and know that you're folding it right. So I'm going to start here, go all the way around here, and then come across and finish here. So it's all one seam. Okay, we are done except for the folding and ironing part. Now you'll notice that I've folded this. This is what I consider the top of my napkin, and I folded it this way. You will get a different result if you fold it this other way, and you can do it either way, and I'll show you in a minute how it looks different. So I'm going to fold this in, then this is going to be my pivot point, and I'm going to go over about 1/3 and back about 1/3, and I'll kind of mess with it until I get it so that both this side and this side is lined up. That looks pretty good. Now then, I'm going to fold this back so that it lines up with this side also. And then fold it one more time, and they should all line up. And here's our napkin that will lay on our placemat, or we can lay it on this side if we want. Just depends on what fabric you've used. And I made a set of 4. And let me show you. Okay, that one's folded the same way. Here's one that's folded the opposite way. I started this by folding it towards the back, that 5-inch seam, and this is more predominant. I mean, well, at least it starts out on the top. So either way works. Now you know whenever you wash them, if you've lost your folds, you've got this line as a guide so you can fold it again. Okay, I'm going to leave both of these here so you can see both directions. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you've learned something from it. And we have lots more Christmas decor to work on for the next few weeks. So I hope you will join me again. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It helps me bring more videos. And for those of you who have subscribed, I thank you very much. It really helps me. And I hope all of you will also like it and leave a comment one way or the other. So until next time, remember, whatever you do, do it to the glory of the Lord. Goodbye.